Warm greetings. Welcome to online session on software engineering 18 CS 35. Myself Jagdish from Canara Engineering College, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science. In this online video session, we'll cover module 3 in the chapter number 5 system modeling. In the last video session, we have covered about object-oriented modeling concepts. So, in this video session, we'll cover about system modeling in module 3. In this module 3, we have two chapters, chapter number 5 as well as chapter number 6. So, in this session, we'll see about chapter 5, the contents, the topics covered in module 3. First one is context models, second one interaction models, third one structural models, fourth one behavioral models, fifth one model driven engineering. So these are the 5 topics that is covered in the chapter number 5. So usually we have seen context model as well as interaction model in the last two modules. So once again we are learning here about context model as well as interaction model in detail with some more examples. So which will helpful for the you people to develop a models for the given project or an application. Along with supporting with that, we have a structural models as well as behavior as well as model driven engineering. In the model driven engineering, we'll see the various stages or steps after designing of a model. What are the actions has to be taken for the development of a code. Coming to the system modeling, in the system modeling is the process of developing abstract model of a system with each model presenting a different view or perspective of that system. System modeling is the process of developing abstract model of a system with each model presenting a different view or perspective of the system. So developing an abstract model of which is a basic that is understanding of the system and designing the model on the perspective or on the view of the developer or an view of the client. So developing that model we call as a abstract model. System modeling has now come to mean representing a system using some kind of graphical notation, which is now almost always based on the notation in the UML or Unified Modeling Languages. So most of the system modeling uses a notation of UML, which is you call as Unified Modeling Languages, are all predefined by the developers or the one who developed the UML modeling languages. That is Booch, what we have studied in the second module. The person has developed a notation, universal notation of UML languages. System modeling helps the analyst to understand the functionality of the system, and models are used to communicate with the customer. system modeling helps the analyst. Analyst in the sense it may be a developer or it may be a person who develop the modeling or it may be any of the system requirement engineers. So it will helpful for the analyst to understand the functionality of the system. So that is what the advantages of the system modeling. Next, existing and planned system models. So models of the existing systems are used during requirements engineering. They help clarify what the existing system does and can be used as a basis for discussing its strengths and weakness. These then lead to requirement for the new system. So when a software engineer takes a requirement from the customer for the development of a application or development of a system, the system modeling team will take the requirement from the customer, then they help to clarify their doubt with the existing system, and if it is if it is matches with the client application or system, then they will discuss their strengths and weakness. So to be a better understanding of the system. So if the strength is add-on advantages for the customer, then there is no need of developing a new system. So slight changes of the system can deliver the product to the customers. Models of the new systems are used during requirement engineering to help explain the proposed requirements to other system stakeholders. Engineers uses these models to discuss the design proposal and to document the system for implementation. So models of the new systems are used during the requirement engineering. So if the proposed requirements doesn't matches the existing system, then the new systems are raised during the requirement engineering process to explain the proposed requirements to other stakeholders. Engineer uses this model to discuss the design proposals and to document the system for implementation purpose. In a model-driven engineering process, so what I discussed in the earlier, in the first the topics that which we covered in this session or in this chapter, then we discuss about the model-driven engineering process. So it is possible to generate a complete or a partial system implementation from the system model. So there is chances of developing a complete model, complete implementation of the code of the application or a partial, depending upon the application. So in the beginning itself I said, especially this subject will deal with the always about the requirement of the customer. As per as customer requirement, the people develop the project. So if the project is already existing project, then the existing project, then we discuss with each strength, and if the strength is understand or it is well satisfied by the customer, then there is no need to develop a new system. Otherwise, we should develop a new system model for the purpose of the system, the customer. So this is what the existing and planned systems. So in the model-driven engineering process, we will develop a partial system or complete system, the two depending upon the customer requirement as well as the system models. So coming to the system perspective. System perspective is external perspectives where you model the context or the environment of the system. So context model, I said, it's just a raw plan that is what are the things is required before developing of any of the system or any of the application. Is just a context model or the environment which supports the system. For example, if you take an application of a our college ERP. So if you take a college ERP, what are the raw materials it is required? It requires a front end, it requires a back end, and it requires a storage purposes for the to store the data. That is the DBMS is required. Then that is the stakeholders. The data is required. That is basic information, and the authority who are all able to access. So these are the environment that is required for the development of the system. So an interaction perspective. First one is a external perspective. Second one is a interaction perspectives, where you model the interaction between system and its environment or between the component of the system. So developing of any of the system or an application, it requires a lot of components or modules which supports the system. So models can have number of components to build a system. So interaction perspective, where you model the interactions between the system and its environment. So that's called, one is external perspective, another one is a interaction perspective. Third one, a structural perspective, where you model the organization of a system or structure of the data that is processed by the system. So structural perspective, where you model the organization of a system, giving an input to a system and what type of output is getting from the system. Such type of activities we'll see in the structural perspective. And behavioral perspectives, where you model the dynamic behavior of the system and how it responds to the events. So any of the system or any of the application, if you give a input, so developer says for an application is for the something around like 1,000 users. So if you give a exact that is 1,000 users, if you are able to access the application, so what are the problems or occur, or if it is processed beyond the 1,000 users, so what are the problems will face us. So to rectify that problem, so what precaution or what the components has to be added to the system are all identified, or the such type of response will be seen in the behavioral perspective. So in the system perspective, we see one is external perspective, second one is an interaction perspective, and third one is a structural perspective, and fourth one is a behavioral perspectives. So in the external perspectives, the model the context of environment of the system. In the interaction perspective, where you model the interaction between a system and its environment, or between the component of a system. In the structural perspective, where the model of the organization of the system or structure of the data that is processed by the system, and behavior of the system, how the system is response to the event is seen in the behavioral perspectives. So in the examination they can ask or give a different view or system perspective of the system model. So you have to supposed to write four perspective: external, interaction, structural, and behavioral perspectives. Next, coming on to the UML data types. So in this UML data types, we have around 5 types, whereas UML have 5 diagram types. That is, one is activity diagram, and the second one is use case diagram, third one is sequence diagram, class diagram, and state diagrams. So we'll see what actually are. So in the activity diagram, we shows the activity involved in the process or in a data processing. So activities involved in a process or in a data processing. So we see that you can see our last diagram in the UML hack. There is a activity diagram of a mental health care patient system. In the first module, in the first chapter, the first module, that is insulin pump control system, where you can see the activity diagram of the insulin pump control system. In that, first there is starting point of the activity diagram with a dark circle. There is and followed by the processes. So blood sensor, analyze sensor reading, blood sugar, and insulin. That is what activities involved in each process or in a data processing. So there are various steps. That we can see in the activity diagram. So here in this module also, in this chapter, we come across some of the examples of the activity diagram. So especially in this chapter is full of diagrammatic concept. So please, my suggestion, please practice the diagram. Okay. So in the blood sugar sensor, with the blood sensor, analyzing the sensor reading, blood sugar, computing the insulin log, then insulin dose, then compute pump commands, pumping data, control insulin pump, and injecting the insulin to the patient, and ending of the activity diagram with the dark circle surrounding with one more circle. So that is what we see in the activity diagram. And second, what we see, the use case diagram, which shows the interaction between a system and its environment. So in the use case diagram, usually we see two types of activity. There is two field. There is one is actor and another one is a processing. So use case diagram, we see that how the interaction between the actor with the process or a data processing event. In the sequence diagram, it shows the interaction between the actors and the system and between the system components. So it shows the interaction between the actors. We come across all this human diagram within examples. In the class diagram, of course, we have to have a separate chapter in the class model diagram or a class model. In the last module, we show the object classes in the system and the association between the classes. So in the classes, we have a three field. One is class name, second field is attributes, and third field is the operation. So last one is a state diagram, which shows how the system reacts to the internal and the external events. So you can see in the big industry types, in the big industries like chemical industry field, where the boilers will be placed. So when the chemical reaction happens in the inside, so what events will be occurred inside the boiler, as well as what reaction or what events will occur outside the boiler. So, or in the chemical industry, or you can take it in the petrol chemical factory, or even our that is Hindustan or LPG gas that is industries. What it will reacts when it is inside the cylinder, and when it is explode or to the air, what reaction will be happen outside the environment or external environment. So these are can be seen by or this can be explained for the software engineers what are the activities or what will be happen to the system by showing this type of diagrams. So he can it will be helpful to him for developing a coding. So uses of the graphical models. So Here we have a three ways in which graphical models are commonly used. Three ways in which graphical models are commonly used. First one is as a means of facilitating discussion about an existing or a proposed system. As a means of facilitating discussion about an existing or a proposed system. So, incomplete and incorrect models are okay as a role is it supports the discussion. So, in the first cases, the purpose of the model is to stimulate the discussion among the software engineers involved in developing the system. So, it will be involving among the software engineers in developing the system. So these models may be incomplete, something like so long as they cover the key points of the discussion, and something like they may be using modeling notations, informally. This is how the normally we call as agile method or agile methods or agile modeling. Somehow we don't have this agile modeling in your syllabus. Usually we have it in the 17 series model, 17 thinking B2 scheme syllabus. And the models are used for documentation documentation purposes as a way of documenting an existing system. Models should be accurate representation of the system but need not be a complete. As a detailed system description that can be used to generate a system implementation. So, usually graphical models will help for software engineers for the better understanding of the system, as well as by seeing the proposed there is a system, by seeing the graphical method or graphical models, they can analyze the existing system, or they will start writing the or executing or implementing the new proposed system, new proposed implementation of the code. So this is what use of the graphical models. One thing, and there is in facilitating the discussion about an existing or proposed, as well as way of documenting in existing and detailed system description that can be used to generate a system implementation. So these are the uses of the graphical models. Coming to the next, it's a context model. Context models are used to illustrate operational context of the system. They show what lies outside the system boundaries. Second point is a social and organizational concern may affect the decision on where to position the system boundaries. Third is architectural models show the system and its relationship with other systems. So here in the context model, it involves something like working with the system stakeholders. Working with the system stakeholders to decide what is required or what functionality should be included in the system, and what is something like provided by the system environment. So this will be discussed with the client or say end users what is actually required by the customer, and this is an early stage in the system requirement or a specification of the system. And main thing we'll discuss about the boundaries of the system, and it's a automatically support for the business process. Automatically supported for the business process, something like for developers, by seeing the context model, we come to know what is required by the customer. So there is not a required a detailed requirement but it's required for the implementation. But beginning stages, it is not at all required in detail of the system. So that will be helpful for the business process, as well as it be implemented will be easy, and you can easily look at any overlaps in the functionality. Functionalities overlap the functionality with some existing system. Whenever client discuss about the project or the requirement of the system, any overlaps with any existing system or functionalities is easily it is seen or by the system model designers, and decide whether any new functionalities we should be added or we can be make use of any existing functionalities can be implemented or not can be analyzed in the beginning stage itself. And this decision should be made in early process to limit the cost of the system cost to the client, and we needed to understand the system requirement and design in the context model itself. So one is it is whether any existing system is there as per as the customer requirement is being checked. If it is any existing system or any existing functionality is there, then there is no need of that is developing a new system. It can be just do some changes. Otherwise, he has to develop a new functionalities which is required for the existing system, or he has to develop all new functionalities. So at this early stage itself, if it decided, then the cost of the project or the cost of the system will be lesser for the client, and it will be, and if you decide in the early stage itself, and then for the implementation of the coding will be easier for the developers of the next stages. So it decides the boundaries as well as environment relationship. So this is what actually about the context model, and we'll come across for the next that is examples of the context model in the next slides. We'll see about the system boundaries. System boundaries are established to define what is inside and what is outside the system, and the position of the system boundaries has profound effect on the system requirements. Defining a system boundaries is a political judgment deciding the system boundaries. Why it is? See, there may be a pressure to develop a system boundary that is increases or decreases the influences or workload of different parts of an organization. So political judgment, something like if it decided earlier stages itself, so workload of different parts of the organization will be there is will be pressure will build a pressure for the to develop the this external parts is if any is required for the project. It's better to decide earlier stage itself. So this is an example of the context of the mental health care patient management system. So this is what the controller or a mental health care management system. What are the external boundaries of the system is required? One is management reporting system. So management reporting system is required. So overall involved in the hospital or overall entered to the hospital is being checked, and something that is specification for the patient information system for mental health care, and to manage information about patients attending a mental health clinic and getting the treatments prescribed, and in developing the specification for this system, we decided whether the system should focus exclusively on collecting information about consultations, getting only the information about the consultation of the patient. That is the main achievement or main requirement of the mental health care patient management system. And whether it should be collected personal patient information. The advantages one is the other system for patient information is that we can avoid the duplication of the data. And one of the major disadvantages is that systems may make it slow to access information. That's what, and maybe at the time the systems are unavailable and cannot be used. It can be if number of users is more than the, obviously we can see our YouTube website itself. If the number of users are at a time, if they log in onto the server, automatically the server get down. So the same way, one of the disadvantages of this is if the number of users or more onto the system, automatically the requirement, so who is that is required information, that is the whose patient information has to be taken immediately at that moment. If the server is got hanged, or if the server is got low because of many users accessing the same database, same server, then there is no use of using this system, because who is actually required, the clinic who is required mental health patient information has to be viewed. At that time, the server didn't support, then there is no use of using this system. So one of the main disadvantages of this is this was the drawback. The server has to be more enough to be access the system. So such a system has to be developed, or such system has to support. You can see that mental health care management system is to connect an appointment and general more patient record, and it is used to share the data. And context model normally shows that the environment includes several automated system. You can see the patient record system, administrative system, and prescription system, appointment system, as well as statistics system. So this is more of automated environment. And the external systems might produce a data for or consuming the data from the system. Therefore, the context models are used along with the other model for the business process model. So this describes the human and automated process in which the software systems are used. So next, there's process perspective. Context models simply show the other system in an environment, not how the system being developed. Process models reveal how system being developed is used in broader business process. Human activity diagram may be used to define business process models. So this is what the actually something like activity diagram, but it shows the process of the dentation. So this you can see here. This is the starting of the diagram, and this is the ending of the diagram. And you can see there is confirmation, dentation, decision, and inform the patients of the rights, and record the decision. So this is this part you can see from the system. This is one entire part system. You can see in the previous diagram. The system is it will be a patient record system. Okay, and this is activity diagram, or to show the activities that may be something system process and flow control from one activity to another. And this is also the start of the process is indicated by the filled circle. Start of the process is indicated by the filled circle, and the end is filled by the circle inside the another circle. Circle inside the another circle. Rectangles with the round corners. Rectangles with the round corners represents the activities. Rectangular with the round corners represents the activities. That is the specific sub process. And specific sub process, that is something like some system or some work has to be carried out, and its object is to be activated chart. And you can see that systems are used to support different processes. And arrow represents the flow of the work. Arrows represents the flow of the work from the one activity to the one activity to the another activity. And a solid bar is used to indicate the activity coordination. solid bar is indicated with these are the four solid bar. It indicates the activity coordination. When the flow from more than one activity leads to solid bar, then all of this leads to the solid bar. That is leads to solid bar. That is, then all of these activities must be completed before progress is possible. So this is what you can see here. Activity bar is there. So depending upon that, if the patient is danger, then admit to the not danger, then admit to the hospital. If the patient is danger, these are the activities that has to be occur. If the patient is danger and transferred to the police station, that is, if it is transferred to the hospital, if it is hospital is available, it transferred to the hospital. Otherwise, inform to the police station. And this is what the all activities has to be performed depending upon the input. And that is inform the social care. Otherwise, inform to the next of the hospital or next of the kin. Update the registers. These are all comes under the mental health care management patient systems. What we have previously diagram, what we have seen, this is just a raw materials or a environmental or the boundaries of the system. And actual process you can see here. One is admission system, and another one is registration system. Another one is record systems. And see, a lot of process has to be done. So first team will develop the context diagram in such a way that then activity diagram, the team will develop the activity diagram. This is only part of the that is mental health care management system has been shown, and there is a lot is there. This is just to a better understanding, or you can see what this indicates, the sign is indicated, and what rectangular, there is semi-rectangular, there is what it indicates, and what the solid bar indicates, and arrows, the flow of arrows shows the flow of data. So this comes, arrow may be something like flow of data from one part to the another stages. So even solid bar leads to the number of activities. This may be executed in parallel. So something depending upon the application. Solid bar, if they give and like this, there is all at a time it has to be performed, or one after the other it has to perform the operation. So by this, I will end the that is first video session of the module 3. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the online session and try to understand the concept. If you're not able to understand, listen once again the video session, then try to understand the video. If you require any help, you can ask in the online.